Good afternoon. Welcome to RSBN Live on this Monday. I'm Matthew Alvarez.
And I'm Robert McNeely. Hopefully you enjoyed Super Bowl 59 as President Trump did, along with family and colleagues. You know, Speaker Johnson was there. I saw Senator Scott with his lovely wife as well. But what a great celebration of that shining city upon the hill that is America. Unity, patriotism, turning back to God of sorts. You saw the revival happening with the quarterbacks and Jalen Hurts thanking God and his Lord and Savior Jesus after an extraordinary victory over the defending champions, the Kansas City Chiefs.
That's right. So what a game it was. We have some highlights from not the game, but from President Trump, at the national anthem there saluting. And then also, while he was flying to the Super Bowl, he was flying over the Gulf of America when he signed an executive order while going over that. So we're going to show all of that to you here in a bit. We also have John Strand, a J6 former political prisoner. He'll be joining us live now with American Frontline Doctors. And also RSBN's Christina Loren will join us a bit later as we go over the latest we know happening at the White House and recapping in a way, as this is now entering the fourth week of the presidency. So looking forward to seeing more information there. But before we dive into all the political news of the day, let's talk about the Eagles. Obviously, Robert and I were joking around last week talking about who's going to win the game, the Eagles or the Chiefs. So Robert has to wear the Eagles colors because I chose the Eagles, he chose the Chiefs. Congratulations on that.
Well, thank you. I am still amazed that the city of Philadelphia is standing with the way their fans like to celebrate by burning things down. But regardless, a huge congratulations to really a phenomenal team that overcame so many hurdles. I think a lot of people at the beginning of the season really had them on the down and outs, even going through the season, but they seem to handle on offense, hitting on all cylinders, on their defense, especially shutting down Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I mean, incredible prowess by the Eagles, and sadly the Chiefs just didn't really seem to put that together at the end of the day.
And this is not a sports show, of course, so we're going to be shifting gears in a second. Why don't we do that now? Colonial Metals Group. So if you go to freegoldguide.com, you'll get this info kit. And, it's that 401k and tax-sheltered IRA backed in that high value of gold.
Oh, exactly. It's so smart to do. You can scan that QR code right now using the camera app on your iPhone or perhaps any smartphone you do have. Shield your savings now. Gold, silver, precious metals. This makes so much sense in addition to properties and assets, maybe a 401k or IRA that you like to convert into these tangible items, because this has stood the test of time. There's no questioning that, whether it was the 7th century or whether it's now in the 21st century, always a way to do bartering, to do trading and exchanging of goods. Gold, silver, precious metals, so smart to do right now, and this is no obligation, just to look over the best options for you and your family.
Exactly. All right, so it's 104 Eastern, as now 105 Eastern, as of course we're going to get into talking about the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. We see DOGE is doing an awesome job. We'll get into that in a bit. And also the great Kash Patel. I mean, at the end of the day, the country voted for President Trump, which indirectly is the same thing as voting for Kash Patel to run the FBI. So that's what America wants. The majority of this country wants to see him there. So hopefully that gets going a lot faster than it is. But let's go to last night just quickly, in case you missed it. We have an entire clip of the President of the United States at the Super Bowl. As soon as I hear that it's ready, we will go to that in New Orleans yesterday, where President Trump, of course, was saluting the flag during the national anthem. The first sitting president to ever go to a Super Bowl. So if we have that ready, we can go to it now. All right, they're saying just give them a few seconds on that. We also will go to a Truth Social post, which is quite interesting, about Taylor Swift that President Trump was saying. So we'll go to that as well. A lot of news coming up this week, of course. We really do look forward to seeing Kash Patel get to that next level.
It's about time, because the Democrats in elected office clearly afraid of what Mr. Patel already does know and what he'll do to the agency. And again, in streamlining it, it's getting rid of the rotten core that's at the top of the leadership. And that's why people like Christopher Wray ran away from it, because those days are coming to an end. We saw what happened with Russia, and the hoax that came all the way from the top. And it was a coordinated effort. And sadly, Chuck Schumer said that, the minority leader, years ago, saying that the intelligence community has 6 ways from Sunday at getting you if they want to target you. And we've seen this now dating back to the 60s, and if not beforehand. So something that definitely needs to be reformed, and Kash Patel wants to do that.
Exactly, and the amount of great things happening with the Department of Government Efficiency, not only revealing corruption in government, but also within media, because government was paying media, as we saw there with Politico and possibly others. As we get more information, we'll share that with you. We do know that the president has pretty much a closed press schedule. So like, he'll have an intelligence briefing today. He will be signing executive orders in the Oval Office, but that, according to the president's schedule, is closed press. However, if there is ever a feed, we will share that with you right here live on the network. Let's also go to the awesome moment in New Orleans just yesterday with President Trump. Quite the flyover, quite the moment there, singing the verse of Land of the Free several times, which is great to see. What an awesome moment last night there with the president.
John Baptiste, one of the best artists out there, and you may be familiar with his work with Stephen Colbert being in charge of the band for late night, but wow, an extraordinary rendition of the national anthem. I love the jazz influence in it as well, but we had, Bradley Cooper, his hometown as well, and then of course, that was Harry Connick Jr., it's his hometown. Bradley Cooper was there for his Philadelphia Eagles. You saw John Hamm, a fan of the Chiefs as well, so it was a bringing together of American culture and entertainment, and the NOLA strong. This is a community who's reeling from the terrorist attack that postponed the Sugar Bowl by one day in that very same Caesar Superdome, which is enclosed as well. So that's why on the teleprompter they saw the flyover, and then we heard the reaction. But I'm telling you, goosebumps just seeing the camera last night pan to President Trump, and we were watching, just saying, oh, there he is, and at attention saluting. You saw the West Point cadets as well. Just a proud day to be an American.
One thing that happened for President Trump that didn't for Taylor Swift, of course. We saw that President Trump received the ovation. People were already there cheering loudly when he was on the screen, when he was on national, international television. And we'll get to some specifics from the White House on an email just the other day, but I just want to share with you also a Trump on Truth segment we want to do here for you. He said about the Super Bowl and about Taylor Swift, as we possibly take a look at that Truth Social post, the only one that had a tougher night than the Kansas City Chiefs was Taylor Swift. She got booed out of the stadium. MAGA is very unforgiving. So quite the Truth Social post there by the Commander-in-Chief. It was quite interesting to see that video when Taylor was sitting there. And I think that she's starting to maybe see that, hey, you know what? You might want to soften up with your rhetoric and understand that we're in this all together. So,
right.
You know, a bit more patriotism from her can go a long way.
And that's why I felt like the message was, Matthew, last night for the most part. Of course, you always have the largest viewing audience of the entire year, not only nationally, but internationally. So you have a moment to really make your point. I didn't feel things were terribly political last night for the most part. There was a lot of voice of unity. Of course, in our culture as well, I just think off the top of my head, how many different celebrities were in various commercials. Actually, my sour point for the night would probably be the commercials. I don't think they were that necessarily creative. I thought some were strange, especially with the Pringles and the mustache, and then there was an eyebrow one. But you have people like Morgan Freeman, and of course, Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan in that iconic moment from When Harry Met Sally, and Sydney Sweeney joining in to fill in one of the roles from that iconic scene in that film. And it was really just a great celebration of the American ethos. And I think perhaps maybe Hollywood is looking at this and saying, maybe there's a reason why he came back in the way he did. Maybe people are supporting him for various reasons, and he's not such an awful human being. And we know that he is a cultural icon in and of himself, this being President Trump. And I'm just glad he gets to really savor the moment. He was on the field earlier, meeting with the Chiefs, the Eagles, also veterans of our, some of our greatest conflicts. And it's special that he takes the time to even meet with the first responders down New Orleans who have been dealing with everything since that terrorist attack on New Year's Day.
Exactly. Before we get to more posts on Truth, but also some more in the broadcast, again at 1:30, John Strand with American Frontline Doctors, a former nonviolent J6 political prisoner. He'll join us. And then at 2 o'clock, Christina Loren, right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, will share with us some of her insights on DOGE and the historic speed that we've been seeing at the White House. And of course, we have the email communications that get sent out to various press outlets. We're, of course, on that list. As we like to report to you everything that we see when it comes to that. So before we get to it, let's go to mypillow.com.
Yes, it is the mega sale with Mr. Mike Lindell. You can own one of the replicas of his own cross. So the My Cross going for 30% off. There's also male and female versions. So you have the black cross that you can see there. For the ladies, there's also a reversible white side to that if you would like to indulge with different outfits, especially with Valentine's Day coming up. Oh my gosh, this Friday. It is this week, a week for love. So get those My Towels, $29.98. Flannel sheets going for $44.98. And RSBN is the code, promo code RSBN, easy to remember. But the site has, over 2,000 different items for up to 80% off. So I really enjoy this company. You enjoy this company. So we implore you to go investigate the site, and hope Mr. Mike Lindell is doing good. We should have him on soon to interview him about his potential run for governor. That's me solely saying that, okay? I've been trying to convince this gentleman to run for office because he's a common sense, great conservative who's fought for free speech and the Constitution, election integrity. What a gentleman.
Definitely. So we're not breaking news about that right now, but maybe we will someday. We'll see.
Hope so.
He'll text you and say, hey, I'm running.
And I hope he announces here on Right Side Broadcasting if you're watching, sir.
That'd be awesome. All right, let's go to someone else that's also a conservative rock star. So Charlie Kirk on Truth Social said something really great. He says a lot of great things on there, but one that I saw the other day, he goes, when we voted for President Trump, we voted for Elon Musk and DOGE, RFK Jr. and Maha, Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth. And he finished out the Truth Social post saying, we voted for a robust chief executive of the country and his team, not a deep state bureaucracy guarded by legacy media, rogue intel agencies, and activist judges. I mean, that's perfectly put. Mm-hmm. Let's break that down. Let's talk about Elon Musk and DOGE. I mean, just the other day, Elon on X saying the team just discovered that FEMA sent $59 million last week to luxury hotels in New York City to house illegal migrants. So we're seeing DOGE do such a kick-A job, aren't we?
Oh, there's no question. And he even tweeted out, well, X'd out now, the CRFP RIP. So they're going after many different departments that clearly have been wasting money. President Trump even mentioning that in his interview for the Super Bowl, saying that I'm surprised he has the time to do all of this. Of course I trust him because he's been a great patriot who loves this country. And seemingly, Matthew, it's been hard to watch the far-left Democrats right now actually having a protest in, I believe, Baltimore City outside of a Social Security office. They really don't know how to message all of this because they're finding the atrocities, especially in USAID, of the wasted money, the wasted funds, the atrocious nature of these priorities that were not America first, but rather put other countries and other interests above the American people, especially the middle class. So be interesting to see how the Democrats counter this.
They are kicking and screaming in the leadership levels on the left side of the aisle. They don't want Elon Musk to move forward. They don't want DOGE to move forward. They don't want to be exploited with the corruption, with the money being sent to other governments or woke policies or to the mainstream media any longer. They don't want people to know how bad this is. This may be, and I believe it is, as we keep seeing things come out, the tip of the iceberg for really the amount of corruption. And it's really going to make a lot of people have to decide, especially those that are independents and Democrats across this country. Do you want to stand with the people that have been lying to you, saying everything's good, and then it's like you take that rock and you look underneath it and you see all of the gross stuff under there.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing. That's the swamp. And it's not only in D.C. It's unfortunately the corruption is a lot of places.
Absolutely. And that's what MAGA has done ultimately is pull back that curtain and inspired people to run for office who come from the private business sector and, folks too. I mean, all due respect to those who have been in the public sector, sometimes though you get corrupted by it. And I think that's one of the biggest differences between the last election in the different tickets. I mean, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris spending the vast majority of their careers within the bureaucracy and being corrupted by it, whereas President Trump and J.D. Vance, our 50th vice president, had a long storied history in private business. They had to set agendas, schedules, budgets, and execute on that. And I have yet to actually hear a person who worked for either of those gentlemen say negative things in regards of this, that, and the other with their own business empires. They really did an amazing job with that. And just sad to see that you have a far left in Washington, D.C. that just wants to enrich itself.
Exactly. So on top of that, we're going to talk about Kash Patel in just a bit, of course. I know that many of you want to see him at the top job there of the FBI for various reasons. That's another kicking and screaming situation. They don't want something like that to happen. From the White House, we received a communications email about an hour ago. CFPB isn't a Wall Street regulator, the White House says. It's a Main Street regulator. So the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the brainchild of Senator Elizabeth Warren, has long functioned as another woke, weaponized arm of the bureaucracy that leverages its power against certain industries and individuals disfavored by so-called elites. So there are a bunch of examples of slush funds going to all this Soros-backed Mississippi Center for Justice and on and on and on. So, I mean, this is the email right here. Robert gets them, I get them, and the team gets them here directly from the Office of the Communications at the White House. And it's just interesting to see, yet again, there's more and more. As you peel back the onion layers,
right,
you see more.
Mm-hmm. You really do. And it's interesting to see that there is cause for concern for the other side about these things coming out there, because ultimately it exposes what's been happening in Washington, D.C. for a long time under both Republican and Democrat administrations. And that's why we've been saying here for a long time on the show, really only 3 weeks since President Trump took the Oval Office, but even prior to that, the idea that he is truly the antithesis of his predecessors, those former presidents who are still alive, who really created a bloated bureaucracy, who could not lead. The buck did not stop with them. You bring in someone like President Donald Trump, who's coming in with a bulldozer and really finding everything that is slowing down the vast economic engine that is the United States. And once you deregulate, once you take these things away and keep it out of place, just like Ronald Reagan did when he was president, amazing things happen. The middle class flourishes, and it is a new dawn as a result.
Exactly, and referring to the new dawn, how about ushering the new golden age of America? According to the White House also, they said, here are just a few items from the past week. The Trump administration is busy securing America by transferring the worst of the worst criminal illegal aliens to Guantanamo Bay ahead of their repatriation back to their own countries. You're talking tariffs here. You're seeing all of the executive orders. So many things done at this historic speed that we're seeing. So we'll be joined by John Strand in just a minute, and then Christina Loren to talk about that too. But again, I'm really focused in on DOGE and Kash Patel today because, they already, the left-wing leadership didn't want President Trump in office, but it was too big to rig. You saw the majority of the country speak out. They really don't want Kash at FBI, and they don't want Elon to keep on going, because what they're doing is we're seeing these press conferences out there with like 2 people that are involved, and they're screaming about, Elon can't look at your social security numbers, and like, what? Like, he's doing good things for this country. And even the other day, a pastor talking about some things against Elon in some ways I don't even want to get into. It's just, it's that woke mind virus that we're really working against.
Right, and it was very sad to see, from my neck of the woods, Wheaton College actually thanked and celebrated Russell Vogt, the new OMB secretary. He's a graduate of 1998, and the woke mind virus hitting that wonderful institution, an institution where Billy Graham received his master's and went out to evangelize Western society and really the whole world. He was the pastor to the presidents, having personal relationships with them and friendships. And we really didn't know that Billy really was a Republican, I think, towards the end of his life, because that was that partisanship he wanted to leave at the door, because he believed deeply in God being ushered in and really, in a sense, rolling out that golden carpet, that red carpet, for him to come back into civic society. And he was probably one of the best and most articulate about this God-centered society, this constitutional republic that was founded on these inalienable rights that come from heaven. And so, sad to see an institution rebuke that, take back their congratulations and thanks to Russell Vogt, and that just has to feel like a punch in the gut. I mean, this is a tough cabinet, there's no doubt about it, but it'd be nice to have your alma mater just say thank you and then leave it be, instead of falling to the far left woke mindset.
It's just so wild. We see the line drawn between good and evil at the end of the day, and there are many more on the side of good, I believe, in this country, and hopefully anybody on the other side will just kind of say, hey, you know what? Making America great again isn't such a bad thing. All right, so before we go to a recent photo of U.S. Marines and Customs and Border Patrol down at the border and some more posts from President Trump, we want to tell you about a great sponsor here at the network, Republican Red Winery, republicanred.com. Robert, I'm going to let you take it away with the sparkling wine, which is to your left and to the right of the people at home.
Yes, it is quite a nice bottle of wine that you could pop open as if you have some champagne, but on both of these beautiful bottles, the 45 and 47, and a beautiful Golden Age of America toast on the back. I'll read that for you. We've taken the House, the Senate, and put our champion in the White House. Let's raise a glass to the red wave and the power of American patriotism. The best is yet to come. That's all in caps. And these remarkable blends really are a nice table setting, and I've enjoyed the 45, 47 red myself. I really enjoy that, but these are some delightful bottles and are great for a Wine Wednesday or really any celebration coming up, including Valentine's Day. You might get it in time with expedited shipping if you go to republicanred.com, code RSBN for special deals and discounts, but a wonderful family-run winery in Central Valley of our Golden State, Lodi, California. So they've been at this game for a few generations. They know what they're doing, and a portion of the proceeds go to conservative and Republican institutions and campaigns and this, that, and the other. So you want to definitely get your wine from some wonderful people.
Definitely. A great sponsor here at the network, as all of our sponsors are awesome. At the end of the day, patriotic people,
absolutely, patriotic products, and also providing us the way to be able to cover all of the news that you guys see, the live feeds that we have. I mean, if you caught the coverage on, I think it was Friday, it was just great. We ended it with Air Force One just taking off to Florida at that point, and
a live picture at the White House, but we're also getting a lot of information, whether it's through the White House, through email communications, or just monitoring the news here at the network. And also, you know what? If there's a rally one of these days, we'll be there again, of course, and cover that. So let's get ready to go to John Strand in just a second, and then we'll talk about the U.S. military that is down at the southern border. Now, it was a great photo that I saw from the DOD that we'll show you in a little bit of just both the Marines and Customs and Border Protection agents standing together. And the agents probably are like, finally, this is what I was hired to do.
Right.
I want to protect my country. I want to serve my country. But the leadership from the prior administration was like, nah, just let them through with the CBP app.
Even last week alone, 331 attempted crossings. President Trump wants to get that to 0. But what a difference between this administration and the last, with the last president claiming he had to look into the legal ramifications whether or not he could secure the border. Clearly, President Trump has proven that that can happen, not on one occasion, but now on a second occasion, as he's returned to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And thank God for that, because this hits the cartels, their foreign terrorist organizations, hits their operations. We're getting rid of MS-13, Tren de Aragua, and Tom Homan, Christina Loren, and the team at Homeland Security, along with ICE and the Border Patrol, just doing an extraordinary job.
They're doing a great job down there. And we'll also go to President Trump's Truth Social post about the woke ideology. He used those words about the military. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's bring in the great John Strand from American Frontline Doctors, and of course, a J6 political prisoner who's been set free, of course. All the charges dropped, right? I mean, what was the update on that?
Yes, Matthew, thank you for having me on. The update is as exciting as you could imagine. In my particular case, I never accepted the plea deal because I was truly innocent. And so I was completely legally exonerated of all charges after defeating the felony at the U.S. Supreme Court and defeating the rest of the charges at the beginning of this year. So I'm very grateful, honored, and excited to have that truth to stand on, that as an American citizen, I maintain my innocence. It was an uphill battle for a long time. But as President Trump has shown the whole country, this is a new era, it's a new day, and it really is time to get back to liberty and justice for all. It's time to get back to the proper rule of law. It's time to get back to a country that actually has borders and that upholds its laws in all areas. So it's a new day, and I'm excited to be here joining you guys.
You know, John, it was interesting yesterday. The pastor at church mentioned that go back roughly 5 years ago, so February of 2020, right prior to COVID, he was actually interviewing for the current position he has now. And it kind of came to mind as I was reflecting on this, what about the J6ers? What about those who may not have gotten a vaccine based on a specific mandate at work or through the government? How do you think that process has really affected not only you, but those who also experience that? And how can we make sure as a civilization that we don't experience such injustice once again?
That's a great question. And I think what you're highlighting is the need for Americans generally to truly understand what their rights are, where their rights came from, what those rights actually mean. For example, it's often said, oh, is healthcare a right? But that's not what healthcare is. Healthcare is not a right. A right is something that you have the capacity to do because God has given you that capacity, and then you should exercise that capacity in a moral direction. That's what rights are. So we have the right to be free. We have the right to make our own decisions about what we put in our bodies, whether that's an experimental gene therapy or otherwise. So we need to remind ourselves, and COVID exposed this, who we are as humans, who we are as Americans, what our rights are, and what we are willing and obligated to do to exercise and protect those rights, of course, for ourselves, but also for others who are under attack. That is why the January 6th protesters, by and large, showed up in Washington, D.C. on January 6th because they understood the proper rule of law was under assault. And of course, the First Amendment sacredly protects American citizens' right to protest against the government for a redress of grievances. And of course, in the course of doing that, we saw a full-scale assault on every single one of the first 10 amendments of the Bill of Rights that you could basically find There were examples of an obliteration of constitutional protections in the course of the Biden regime's witch hunt that ensued in the J6 prosecutions of the last 4 years. But it is a very somber warning, both from the COVID perspective and what happened with January 6th, to remind us all as Americans what our rights are and how we must be vigilant in exercising and protecting them.
So let's now shift over to DOGE and Kash Patel. Kash Patel, of course, hopefully will be the FBI leader there. You pick. Which one would you like to talk about first? Because at the end of the day, we need both. We need Kash sent to the FBI, and we need DOGE to continue to keep kicking butt.
Absolutely. Those are two incredibly exciting and important topics. Gosh, where to start? You know, the tweet at the top of my feed on social right now on x.com, so at John Strand USA, just reported additional details and footage of absolutely shocking, violent FBI assaults against nonviolent, decent, peaceful American citizens, you know, framed as J6 defendants. It is despicable what has been going on with the FBI over the last 4 years, and that must be exposed, it must be excoriated, and we need Kash Patel to get to business really fast. But the DOGE question is so fascinating because it's going to drive not only what Kash Patel and Pam Bondi need to do in the DOJ, but really everyone in government and really everyone in our country. I was thinking about DOGE. It's just absolutely lighting up the internet and the world right now in terms of what it is and what it is doing, what it's uncovering. I think the Uniparty had a difficult time in the beginning when President Trump Elon Musk and President Trump announced this concept, calling it the Department of Government Efficiency. And it's kind of hard to argue against efficiency, but I think the Uniparty thought, well, if it makes our jobs more efficient to continue the essentially legalized theft of the American citizens' wealth, I guess we could find a way to go along with that. But now we're realizing that DOGE doesn't exactly mean Department of Government Efficiency. It's really translated into meaning direct observation of gangster exploitation. And in an unbelievable, shocking display of brazen corruption that has infected every single corner of our government bureaucracy. I mean, we have many other departments yet to pull the hood back, and we know it's coming. But every hood we've pulled, every curtain we've pulled, the wizards are hideous to behold. And this USAID revelation of essentially constituting a criminal syndicate in the hands of the bureaucracy, the deep state, you know, the permanent bureaucratic class, is something that we've all generally understood, or I shouldn't say all, but many of us have generally understood this and have been calling for accountability and calling for reforms and et cetera. But now that the curtain is being pulled back, DOGE is giving us direct observation of what is turning out to be government gangster exploitation of the American people. It's shocking. It's historic, and I couldn't be more excited about the painful and uncomfortable recognition and a reckoning with the reality of what the government has become over the course of far longer than just the last 4 years. This has been a 40-plus year project of the government, and it's high time for us to turn that ship around.
As you know, Attorney General Pam Bondi has also chosen to sue the city of Chicago and state of Illinois, mostly over the blocking of Section 8, or actually number 8, Section 1324 of the U.S. Code that's harboring illegal aliens. Want to get your take on that and how you think that might proceed in court, even potentially all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. And then, as you just mentioned, with all of these bureaucratic efforts to really impede and block on President Trump's agenda, even though a little bit more quiet than those in the past, how do people protect themselves financially with all this? Even we see reports today that some are hoarding eggs because there are influenza and bird flu going around, and we don't know if that's so much of just a fear tactic within most of the corporate media or if that's something else, but we do know that people are going, and even Costco said, please only get 3 cartons of these, or Trader Joe's saying just 1 carton per shopping trip, please, because we're going to run out of eggs. So kind of a two-pronged question there about how do we, or where do you see this going legally with these battles that the Trump administration will have with respective jurisdictions, and then also just the financial aspect of everything that people need to secure their own wallet and their own livelihood in light of everything happening?
Sure, I'll answer them actually in reverse order. The comments you made about limitations on, goods at the grocery store, bird flu, these concerns about financial markets, but also the protection of essentially basic assets including your health. I really would just urge people, this should raise your alarms. This should sound like deja vu. This should feel like an echo. We've been here before. We've heard these things, right? Oh, wait, that's right. 2020, when they told us all kinds of things that turned out to be unbelievable lies and propaganda, and people were caught off guard. We should never be caught off guard like that again. So I would urge everyone. You introduced me. I am the creative director of America's Frontline Doctors, a nonprofit that has been blowing the whistle on the medical industrial complex and the entire litany of lies and propaganda that was used to sabotage the American people in so many ways. We can't allow that to happen again. So I would urge people to visit goldcare.com. I'm the creative director there at that entity as well. That is the answer that we have discovered and built over these last 4 years of waging the COVID wars, so to speak, the information war against many lies and deceptions and fabrications. And goldcare.com is your protection in terms of understanding the truth about what's being weaponized against you in terms of the propaganda, and also just a lot of conflicting information, even coming from what you would perhaps consider normal government channels. But that's where I would direct you to get a starting point of understanding what's true and false and how to navigate decisions for your family, whether it's related to food or medicine, whether it's related to financial diversification and protection of assets. And then to your original question about the law, and this is such an important one. I mean, of course, we see in Chicago, which is known for a lot of government corruption over the years, but California has been terrible as well, and these sanctuary cities, which are literally sanctuaries for criminal activity, including criminal actors in the government that are facilitating and protecting criminal activity. So I think the real answer to the question is to remember that we are a constitutional republic. So the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. If there are lower level laws and regulations that conflict with the Constitution, they are to be held invalid. So we can't accept that local level politicians inappropriately are going to try to defy and controvert the necessary and legal proper activities of the federal government, particularly in securing the border from invasion and from criminal illegal aliens, which of course is a huge problem that now the country's generally acknowledged, and that's a big reason why President Trump and his administration were elected. But the real answer to the question is we need to understand what we are as a constitutional republic, and realize that many, many laws and or regulations that are on the books and that are used against us, even weaponized against us as citizens, are not valid and never should have been there in the first place. So we need a lot fewer laws, and we need more government officials of integrity that understand what proper laws are and how to apply them equally, fairly, and in a legitimate manner.
John Strand with the American Frontline Doctors, J6, political prisoner who is now free, of course. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again soon here on RSBN.
Always my pleasure and honor. Thank you for having me, and God bless you guys, and God bless the United States of America.
Amen. You know, it's people that have been through the extreme, valley of a situation.
Right.
Being in solitary for a number of days and months, and then also on top of that, 366 days he was behind bars for a nonviolent situation there.
Absolutely.
All the charges are dropped. And he was able to, with God and grit, be able to go to the next level. And look now, working professionally and doing a great job. So it's wonderful to see those kind of stories around this country. And
so articulate and focused on the truth. And that's what we bring you here at Right Side Broadcasting Network live today on this Monday now afternoon. My goodness, the day is flying by after Super Bowl Sunday, which I know it normally does. But I hope you're taking advantage of all the deals that might be out there, whether it's a coffee shop or anything with the post-celebration. Sometimes I wonder if it should be a federal holiday, but we're so happy to have people like John Strand, great experts on the show who have been to hell and back, as you said, Matthew, and committed to not making a plea deal that would be the easy route. Doesn't he remind you of almost a modern founding father? Because that's the kind of courage they needed against an empire that was really ruling with an iron fist over the original 13 colonies.
Exactly. Speaking of that, President Donald Trump, an outsider just like the Founding Fathers. That's why this country, from the core of who we are, voted for President Trump. All right, let's go to Tax Network USA, and then we'll be followed by BrightCore right after that. Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415 is the number there. Of course, April isn't here yet, but still, if you have any questions with taxes, or if you have back taxes to take care of, you can kind of get on a plan there. Go to 800-357-1415, a great group there, patriotic people, and also BrightCore as well, great company as well.
Yes, the Kimchi One. You can buy 2, get 1 free right now. If you visit mybrightcore.com/RSBN, and this is great for the gut health, especially off a Super Bowl. Probably everyone broke their diets yesterday. And,
no, none of that. It was perfect. We had celery. My family was hanging out with Bobby and everyone. We were all there.
That was great.
It was celery. It was carrots. It was.
Well, the artichokes in the cheese dip, it worked out well. So I made some artichoke dip that was homemade, but a lot of that was probably 90% cheese, so of different forms. So the calcium was there for sure. But we had the meats, plenty of protein. But
we could talk about that in a second. Let's
get back to. I'm just reliving it because it was delicious.
I derailed you on the.
Yes, you derailed me there, but it was a worthwhile moment. All made in the USA, just like BrightCore and the Kimchi One, gut health, immune support, the anti-aging properties, everything you need to help you operate better. It all really does start with the gut health, goes up to the brain, and helps you, really throughout the day, whether it's at work or just spending that extra quality time with loved ones. Give them a call over at 888-722-0936. Receive that 50% off. Buy 2, get 1 free right now. mybrightcore.com/RSBN. This is something I take myself and just ordered some more, so please dive into this amazing opportunity.
Definitely a great founder there as well, Kim Bright, MAGA and Maha. Always good to have that connected as well when you're selling a great product. So Kimchi, there it is, mybrightcore.com/RSBN. All right, so real quick, just in case you're wondering at all, so we had all kinds of food there, my wife and I and Bobby and some others from the network here. And it was a little bit of healthy stuff, and then we broke the diets big time yesterday.
Yes, but all worth it for a great celebration of America and what it's all about, coming together in unity and patriotism, truly celebrating the game we all love. And it's interesting to see, since those COVID times and BLM, how much it's changed from the woke mind virus to, oh no, let's go back to our core principles, what unites us. And the thing I'm most impressed with is just this I guess, the way the players actually thank God and Jesus, and that's been special to watch.
Yeah, exactly. And then, it wasn't the best game ever. It was a blowout, really, and so that's why he's wearing the Eagles tie today. We were obviously last week talking about who would win the Super Bowl. I said the Eagles, he said the Chiefs. Anyway, so the point is, we had a great president, though, the best president in the building there. So it was really awesome to see that. And if you're just joining us right now, Robert McNeely, I'm Matthew Alvarez. It's 1:44. In about, 16 minutes, we're going to go to RSBN's Christina Loren. We'll get her take on the game and also DOGE and the historic speed that we're seeing these executive orders. So looking forward to going to that. But before we do, let's go back to the picture of the U.S. Marines and the Customs and Border Protection agents. This photo, just great from the DOD that we saw the other day here. As we see, there are about 4,100 troops down there when it comes to Marines and Army and also National Guard. But then you've got the Border Protection. So the Border Protection agents are on the left side of the screen. Obviously, the Marines are on the right side, and you see the wall behind them. And again, this is the promises made, promises kept that we're following here at the network. And there is one right there for you to see.
Something that is a very welcomed sight, because these are the gentlemen and ladies who want to stop human trafficking. They've been given the tools by a president who wants to simply enforce the law. That's the goofiest thing, I think, of the argument coming from the far left, that somehow he's a Nazi, and you've heard all of the nonsense. And what he's doing here is simply enforcing American law, and in turn stopping labor trafficking and the sex trafficking and the fentanyl coming in. This has been a war coming across our southern border and to the north of us. The Mexican cartels, now a foreign terrorist organization, thanks to President Trump's pen with his memorandums and executive orders, were operating in Canada. This has to stop because people die in the process, and we know the names. We know of Rachel Moore, and we know of Jocelyn Nungary and Laken Riley, of course. Now, the bill that became law, the first law President Trump signed, they all suffered at the hands of illegal migrants who should not have been here in the first place, and in many cases had already broken the law on several occasions before they encountered their victims.
And speaking of executive orders and the president, we may be getting a feed of any of the executive orders that he signed today in the Oval Office. So we'll stay tuned for that. And when I say that, we literally will stay tuned with you. At the end of the day, whether it's a closed press situation, that means sometimes the cameras aren't rolling at all, but sometimes they are, and it's not a live feed, it's just recorded and then fed back to the network. A little bit of inside baseball, just want to be transparent about the kind of coverage you can expect here at the network. Now, on Truth Social, President Trump talking about the military, I believe we have this post as well. He was saying our service academies have been infiltrated by woke leftist ideologues over the last 4 years. I have ordered the immediate dismissal of the Board of Visitors for the Army, Air Force, Navy, and Coast Guard. We will have the strongest military in history, and that begins by appointing new individuals to these boards. We must make the military academies great again, end quote. There you see it from President Trump earlier today. So he's got his eye on a number of things, and it doesn't matter that it's, the day after the Super Bowl on a Monday, things, all getting warmed up back into the swing of things. Not with President Trump, man. You know it. He goes, and goes.
Well, I'm glad he left early, too, because he's someone who can really run without much sleep. But he was supposed to get in at 1 in the morning this morning back to Washington, D.C., but left around halftime or so. I'm glad he did that just because, he's just on the go so much.
Yeah, exactly. If the game was good, he probably would have stayed.
Right.
I think that's what's cool about President Trump. He's like, do I want to stay? Do I want to get? Let's get out of here. But when he says, let's get out of here, you know how many layers of security and the press pool and all this stuff. But hey, at the end of the day, it's all good. Because, again, it was great to see the first sitting president at a Super Bowl. That was our Commander-in-Chief, President Donald Trump. So it's quite awesome to see that. We're about 12 minutes away from seeing RSBN's Christina Loren here. She'll join us live. Also, we want to show you yesterday, while President Trump was on Air Force One, we're going to show you, it's a decent timing clip there. It's about 28 to 29 minutes. We will show you that in its entirety after the interview with Christina, because at the end of the day, he talks about flying over the Gulf of America. And there's actually a really cool part of it where the pilot is making an announcement over the Air Force One speaker system inside the plane there. So it'll be kind of cool to see that. We can watch it together here in just a bit as we get ready to see Christina. By the way, so Christina, Ashley Brassfield, yourself, CPAC coming up in just a few days.
We're excited about that, to see you. And if you're going to be in Southern Maryland, just outside of D.C. at the Gaylord Hotel and Convention Center, please come on by and say hello. We'll be in the media row and having our live show there, but also interacting with just the extraordinary people who make all of this MAGA movement possible. It's you, the American people. CPAC, truly the grassroots. Of course, big names in attendance, and we're looking over that agenda as well for day-to-day activities. But there's nothing like getting together really for a homecoming. It's really my extended family. I think there's a live shot there of Vice President J.D. Vance in France. He's attending an AI convention we saw earlier. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Director. Some dignitaries coming in, people from around the world, and French President Macron hosting that as well. So that's been wonderful. Saw some of his comments earlier, actually speaking in English. So I guess there's mostly English speakers attending this as well. But a nice, beautiful, ornate French palace there to host this conference.
Yep, that's right. So that's an AI conference. The vice president and actually his entire family made this trip. I remember seeing them walking down off of Air Force Two. So once we see the vice president, we can go to that live as well before we move anywhere else right now, unless there's any breaking news or if we see the vice president. Let's thank one of our great sponsors, American Financing. Now, anything to do with refinancing or loans, it's always good to work with patriotic people, and American Financing are those great people. $800, if you might, saving $800, an average of that a month, I think anybody's into that.
Makes a lot of sense, and you can actually delay 2 of your mortgage payments right off the bat if you go to American Financing. And I think all of us could do well with an average savings of $800 a month. So if you own anything right now, that's probably a smart thing to give the Patriots a call here, and you can actually visit them at, I'm just looking up the website here, theamericanfinancing.net. So go talk to the Patriot friends over there for all of those wonderful discounts.
All right, so another great sponsor at the network, as we're about 9 minutes away from the top of the hour, monitoring a number of things there as we see various leaders, dignitaries, staff attending this AI conference in Paris, France, and then the Vice President will be there as well. And will he bring his whole family to it? Who knows? But we will see and monitor the different vehicles pulling up there. This is live in Paris right now. And I may be politically dorky enough to know what time it is in Paris because I have it on my phone, these different times around the world, because I'm that guy. It's 7:51 p.m. today there, now 7:52 in Paris right now. I guess I should have known that. I've traveled to Europe before. You been to Paris or London?
You know, I've been in Charles de Gaulle Airport. I've been to the south of France, so near Cannes and ultimately Lourdes, actually, which is a beautiful place to go on pilgrimage as well. So a beautiful healing place to experience. And it almost looks as if the basilica there, it almost looks as if it's out of Lord of the Rings or something really special in that sense. But the architecture, nothing better. The food, the cuisine, a beautiful country, plenty of culture and history there. And friends of ours for many, many years. And we hope to continue that great relationship under peace through strength. And that was something I think that surprised everyone. It was Emmanuel Macron, the Prime Minister of France, was more of, you know, an Obama-endorsed individual, more left of center, once a member of the Socialist Party. And then, of course, you know, President Trump, you know, coming in with the MAGA agenda. They happen to really get along, and same with his wife, the First Lady of France, and of course Melania Trump, our beautiful First Lady, seem to really have a wonderful time together. And President Trump mentioned that in the first term. You know, you go into this thinking someone's going to have different opinions and such, and the four of us just clicked. We have a great time together, and you could see that with that non-verbal body language when they all get together.
Exactly. It was great to see President Trump in France just a few months back at Notre Dame, of course. The roof and other parts of it torn by fire 5 years ago, but that reopening, that was a great moment as well that we covered here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Again, many world leaders, dignitaries, and other staff from various governments, and anybody involved, I guess, when it comes to artificial intelligence as well. So it's an AI conference. Again, we're just monitoring that as we await the Vice President there. All right, so it's 1:53 Eastern. We covered all of our comments about DOGE. I mean, we can go on with that for a long time. Also, Kash Patel, you know, looking forward to seeing him confirmed and sworn in as the FBI director. Let's go back to, if we can, we saw that photo of our Marines and our Customs and Border Protection, and we talked about the fact that President Trump wants to get rid of the woke leftist leaders within the Board of Visitors with the Army, Air Force, Navy, and Coast Guard. It just seems like everywhere we look, whether it's government or media, the roots run deep when it comes to the amount of corruption that we see. And we're really trying to make America great again and clean it up in this country.
Right. And speak of corruption, there's Justin Trudeau, the outgoing Canadian Prime Minister. So there's plenty of interesting things he's been involved with over the years, and we are looking forward to his exit stage left. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Exactly. And, you know, we've been, and as you guys have been monitoring the news, we monitor it as well. And we see that, you know, President Trump says he's serious about Canada being a 51st state. We'll see what happens. Some may be for that. Some may be against that in this country. It is what it is. But we're reporting what we're hearing about it. Greenland would be great to get. We know that.
Right. And President Trump actually speaking on these issues yesterday when he signed the executive order turning the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America, flying over that yesterday with the press pool in the den there in his office on Air Force One. And a very ornate setting and proper about that. But him diving into, look, it's like we pay so much for not only their defense, but also the timber and the logging that comes in from Canada, the tariffs they put on that, also steel as well. So it's getting to a point where it might as well become the 51st state.
Well, we'll see what happens. And I think it's going to be saving the best for last on that top left corner. The United States representative there, the Vice President, J.D. Vance. So we'll see when that happens. Let's go to one of our sponsors as we're getting closer to seeing RSBN's Christina Loren, who will join us live in just a few minutes. Let's go to angelpace.com. Spring, Texas. This is where they are from and headquartered. Also hiring military veterans, and a great product right there, angelpaste.com.
And if you need a last-minute Valentine's Day gift, angelpaste.com, the best place to go, whether it's for your guy or gal. They have unisex options, but also that manly man bottle that comes in a black label, and you could still grip that tackle box even after you put it on, because this time of year it gets dry, it's cold outside, and you need that moisturizer. Non-GMO, no chemicals. This is a Christian company, also hires veterans just outside of Houston, Texas in Spring, and also has a great product that actually repels mosquitoes naturally. So well worth your time and a great investment.
RSBN is the promo code as well. We'll save you, I think it's 10% actually. So angelpaste.com, great product here at the network. 4 minutes to the top of the hour. And you were just talking about cold weather. Well, those of you in Minnesota and Wisconsin, we've been seeing how cold it is. 5 degrees in some of these mornings, probably -7 I saw overnight in some of those forecasts. But hopefully spring is right around the corner for you guys, because, man, down here in the South, it's been oddly warm. It's been 70-something, so it's been quite
sunny
interesting.
And 75 for the most part, so we're not complaining.
No, not complaining, but definitely love our country, regardless of where you guys are watching from. We're with you. Glad you're with us right now as we're looking at a live picture at 7:57 local time in Paris, France. It's an AI conference, and Vice President J.D. Vance will be pulling up there soon, and we'll see that. But also, let's see if Christina Loren is on the line. Guys, is she there? Okay. All right. We'll see her in just a second as she joins us live. It'll be great to talk to Christina as well, to get her insights on just how things have been going. I mean, we're entering the 4th week of President Trump's 47th presidency. Can you believe it? It's been just 3.5 weeks since he's taken that oath, and he set historic speed. Well, that's called actions matching up with your words.
It's been a beautiful 21 days, and he's nonstop, even having these working weekends, getting his agenda put into place. And, we're about halfway there with the cabinet picks, but sadly the far left trying to stifle that in the process, mostly with Mr. Kash Patel, and then their onslaught of really a media campaign to disgrace and discredit Elon Musk. I don't think it seems to be working, but they will try regardless. And nonetheless, Vice President J.D. Vance and President Trump continuing to reform and streamline the size of scope of this federal government. Has to happen.
It definitely has to happen, and it is happening right now, and that's what's great to see as we, cover it here on the network. I'm looking forward to showing those of you that haven't seen the part where President Trump's in Air Force One talking about Gulf of America and literally flying over the Gulf of America in Air Force One. He was on his way. I remember the pilot saying the next stop is Super Bowl 59. I mean, quite the moment. We'll bring that to you here on the network as we get ready to hear from Christina. Also, I just want to reiterate Charlie Kirk's point on Truth Social. He said, when we voted for President Trump, we voted for Elon Musk and DOGE, RFK Jr. and Make America Healthy Again, Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth. We voted for a robust chief executive of the country and his team, not a deep state bureaucracy guarded by legacy media. It's exactly what goes on. Rogue intel agencies and activist judges. So everything he says in that last part there is such concentrated truth. It really is.
Oh, it is. It's something that was a resounding mandate back in November of last year, and we saw that momentum happening because of the failures of the Biden-Harris administration. So this is really a new dawn, a new day in America, and rarely do you have an opportunity to go back and look between the prior administration and what happened even 4 years prior to that. President Trump, with all of the good policies put into place with so much opposition, some within not only the Republican Party, but within his own surroundings. So at the White House as well, we saw so many of those people who were disloyal at the end of the day and who were just trying to make their 15 seconds of fame happen along with a paycheck and, a new autobiography. Many of those people are silent simply because they're dishonest.
Exactly.
And I think of people like John Bolton, or even different people who are in the communications aspect of things who just are not trustworthy and were trying to serve themselves rather than the greater good of the country.
And what's great about it is through nonverbal communication and what people say and what they do, and you follow all that, especially in a leadership position like a politician or someone that's running something. And we know, as you guys do, we know who are really supporting we the people,
right? Who
are really genuinely MAGA, who are genuinely loving God, the truth, the common sense leadership, the Constitution and all that. So you kind of could tell when somebody's speaking if that's really what they believe in and what they're into.
Right, exactly. And that's, President Trump's style with the art of the deal. I loved how media, it was almost months later, asking him why they had Bolton on in the first place as the security advisor. And he said, well, because he's an absolute maniac. He wanted to scare, other countries because he was one of the architects of the Iraq War. And it's just brilliant when you think even Bolton was like, excuse me? He didn't realize he was being used in a certain position in order to secure the United States, because if you're looking from the outside in, they must have thought, oh, wow, it's peace through strength, but he has this guy on his team. Why did he do that in the first place? And that's the brilliance of President Trump, of bringing those together, willing to speak to those he's also in opposition with. I think about his 2 meetings now with Governor Newsom since he's taken office. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall. Of course, it was closed press, their meeting in the Oval Office just last week, but amazing to see how things are getting better, especially with our seemingly war-torn areas. Of course, there are man-made disasters and natural disasters that have taken place in recent weeks and months here, but President Trump having a laser focus on it, wanting to restore Western North Carolina, Southern California, and of course East Palestine, Ohio, that was devastated by those chemicals from the train derailment.
Exactly. 2 minutes after 2 o'clock, let's go to one of our sponsors. That on the left side of your screen is the AI Action Summit. We'll share more information about that right after we tell you about Colonial Metals Group. And very happy to tell you about this group, because at the end of the day, when it comes to gold and silver, great backup plan, as you guys know, for a 401k or a tax sheltered IRA. If you have a retirement, you have that little cushion of savings, the diversified of these guys would be actually one of the smartest things to do, because at the end of the day, we know the dollar fluctuates a lot.
Right.
Even if Maganomics, as we are seeing it slowly come out for our country, still having gold and silver as a backup plan is still always good.
Oh, yeah. Some great patriots in here endorsing this, including Judge Janine Pirro. She's in the booklet, but you can scan that QR code right there. Shield your savings now. And this is something that, even Dr. Ron Paul had talked about, the former congressman, for years and years, about hedging your bets against inflation. The only way to do that, the timeless commodity, it's gold, it's silver, it's precious metals. It makes so much sense in this day and age to make sure that you're financially protected from anything, regardless of the style of government you're in to who's in leadership. We know that spending has been out of control these last few years.
Definitely has. Let's go back to the AI Action Summit. Hopefully we're taking a live picture of that right now. It is it's today and tomorrow, so the 11th, Tuesday. So will the vice president be at both days? Who knows? I mean, at the end of the day, we'll see if he's going to be there showing up today and tomorrow for both days. Now, basically, this is it's becoming the artificial intelligence capital of the world, Paris. They're saying that for these 2 days. For the occasion of the AI Action Summit. So the event will bring together heads of state and government, international organizations and companies of all sizes, all across the globe. So if you want to get more information on it, it's just as simple as typing AI Action Summit on your Google or DuckDuckGo. All right, so we've been waiting for Christina Loren. She is joining us now live. Christina, how are you doing? And first of all, did you watch the game yesterday? Do you care about the game? Were you happy to see the Eagles win?
No. So I started watching the game, and then I found out that the end zone of my backyard needed more attention because it was going to be a blowout. So I just grabbed the weed whacker, got to work. But I'm not a major football fan either, and I wouldn't pretend to be.
But you are wearing Eagles colors today.
Coincidence? Possibly.
Tell us about your thoughts about the historic speed that we're seeing President Trump move. I mean, we're entering the 4th week now. Isn't it crazy?
It's amazing. I mean, it's 21 days. I just look back because it feels like it's been, and we've talked about this prior, it feels like it's been about 6 months, but he's done more in 21 days than any president has done in 100 first days of presidency. So just looking back at everything he's done with mass deportation, making sure that we're not getting ripped off by other countries any longer, what he's doing, the push for AI, which is huge because we are in a race with China. Everything that he's been able to do, he still finds time to get home on the weekends. And I love that that's the trend that we've been seeing is he flies home on the weekends to be in Florida. But the man is unstoppable. And it's really one of the, I mean, whether you're a fan of Philadelphia or you're a fan of Kansas City, everybody in this country should be a fan of the Trump administration. And we should all be cheering on what he's doing. And of course, the Department of Government Efficiency, which is mind-boggling what they're uncovering and how they're opening up the books for the American people to look right in. We've never had that before. It's amazing.
Well said, Christina. And President Trump even getting some time on the golf course yesterday before the game with the great Tiger Woods. So fun to see their relationship and the way they looked as if they were really analyzing those swings. And we both know that they love the game of golf. So it's nice that he can get some R&R with a breakneck pace. But, walk us through some of your thoughts, too, regarding how do Democrats counter this and message this? We saw that some of them tried to storm the Department of Education. Going on right now in Baltimore City and Washington, D.C., really the Maryland delegation is truly just making things up about Elon Musk in order to try to scare people that this administration wants to take away their Social Security. So what are some of your thoughts regarding the far left trying to spin this into something that it's not?
Well, Social Security becoming insolvent is a real issue, and President Trump is trying to keep that from happening. I think of Maxine Waters, how she's always at the forefront of these movements, and the way that she attacked that gentleman in front of the Department of Education, she should be fined, and she should be made an example of. You cannot treat people that way, especially those who are just trying to do their job because you don't agree with their political. I mean, he was just doing his job. It didn't matter what side of the aisle he was on. He just didn't want to get into hot water. I feel so bad for that man and for what he had to endure, and the fact that he stood there stoically. You just think about what was going on in his mind, though, as this group of people in a hostile fashion with a mob mentality are closing in on him half circle style and yelling at him and demanding his identification. You cannot treat people that way, especially if you're trying to represent a member of the socially responsible party, which the Democrats are so far from. The coastal elites have clearly put their fingers deep into our government and made changes and done things and hidden, covered up. All of these moves that they've made, they have hidden. And they didn't want anyone to look into it. If anybody tried to look into what they were doing, those people would be silenced. So the fact that now they're outraged because all of this is coming to light, I mean, who wouldn't want the government's books to be easily read? We're the American taxpayers. We're the hardworking men and women who fund the government while they're sending out checks for DEI in countries like Serbia, and they're putting on musicals, transgender musicals in other countries with hard taxpayer money, hard-earned money. It's offensive to me, and I think like many of Americans, it's outrageous. And my pulse goes up when I start to read the list of where a lot of that money went. And as they go deeper and deeper into the corruption, as they go into now the Department of Education, and they're talking about going even into Jerome Powell's arena and looking at the Federal Reserve. The more that we find out, I feel like the more outraged the American people are going to be. But the corruption is so deep, the swamp is so thick, and only President Trump, because he had those 4 years to really think about what he was going to do, and he had the prior experience, only he could come in and change things the way that he has.
Isn't it wild to see even some of the money from USAID going to mainstream media? So seeing those kind of stories be reported against the American people, against the common good, and that's from a left-wing situation. Let's shift gears over to Kash Patel. No wonder, Christina, they're slow rolling him being the director of the FBI, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm surprised that, I'm surprised that Pete Hegseth was able to get through, because it's not just on the Democrat side. You have to understand that these people in Congress, members of Congress, they have, many of them, like Mitch McConnell, have been there for years and years and years. And you have to wonder throughout all that time how many deals had to be made behind the scenes in order to get a certain vote, a certain slant in a vote. And so the fact that President Trump has been efficient in keeping the Republican Congress in the House and for the most part in the Senate to stay on one page is amazing. But I think that's why he's working so quickly as well, because as time goes on, the likelihood of everybody staying together, it becomes less and less likely that that's going to be the case. There's going to be more division in both chambers of Congress. So, I love Kash Patel. I hope that he doesn't see any problems. I hope that we can continue to go forward with all of President Trump's cabinet nominations and watch them be confirmed coming. I mean, the next few weeks, we're going to find out everything. But I mean, already this week, he's sending people over to Europe in order to try to get the Ukraine situation resolved. And so my only concern is that he's got so many different things happening all at once. And I was always taught, if you chase two birds, you can't catch one. Now, he has the right people in charge, but I almost want him to just slow down a little bit so that we can tackle all of these issues one at a time and really show the American people why it's necessary. Because when you have it all happening at once, I mean, it's going so fast that the ladies on The View, they can't even throw shade on him fast enough because of the pace that he's moving. And so I think that if we keep this up, it's going to be hard for all of us to keep up with what's going on. So I kind of hope that he's going to slow down in the coming days. But it's never been a better time to be alive and to see what real leadership looks like in this country. And the time could not be better. And the changes that he's making for the way that Christians are perceived, not just here, but in other countries as well. I'm so grateful to see him in office, and that it was the majority of the American people who voted him in. It's not the coastal elites controlling things anymore, and they lose that control, and then you get Maxine Waters.
He's Teflon Don for sure, and we know that Al Green has actually attempted to issue articles of impeachment. So the Democrat from Texas, again, going down that road. So this slim majority, so precious, only a few months until 2026 elections. Well, Christina, you're a star meteorologist, and there are some winter storms coming this week. Just your thoughts on that and how people could be prepared in the upper Midwest, and even here in the Southeast, we're going to see a lot of rain and potential flash flooding. So not only watching out for their pocketbooks with everything going on in Washington, what are some of your thoughts to remain safe and vigilant when storms come around the corner?
Well, I think that especially for the South, because we just went through this warm spell and we're getting into the severe weather season. Of course, when spring rolls around, that's when we start to see the tornadic rotation, the big, strong, severe thunderstorms that create tornadoes in the South. The flooding is something that commonly occurs this time of year as well, because you get that warm plume of air that moves to the north out of the Gulf of America. And as it moves on shore, any sort of storm that comes in on the jet stream is going to pull that moisture up right over the south. And so that's the trend we're going to start to see more and more of. I don't know that we're going to see another extreme snow event in the South. We could see maybe one more as we get into the end of February, early March. But I honestly think that we had that severe cold in the South, and now that's going to start to change, trending warmer. And so we're going to be more at our severe weather coverage. For the Midwest, again, each wintertime, they are accustomed to getting a few periods of extreme cold when that polar vortex, the cold air drops south out of Canada. But I will tell you, summer and spring are looking more and more, it's not as far. We don't have to look as far from this point. January is typically the coldest point, February the coldest months in the country. And then after that, we see spring, and then boom, just like that, we're into summertime. So there are warmer days ahead. I think a lot of people are over winter. And of course, spring is the season of renewal. So it is going to start to get warmer, and we'll start to see those blooms, our deciduous trees getting leaves back. I look forward to that very much, because it has been pretty rough winter here in Tennessee, and I'm sure we're not too far from me in Alabama.
Definitely. RSBN host and meteorologist Christina Loren. You know what you need to get? A green screen and go ahead and start just doing the reports.
I always use my hands. And if anybody wants, that's why I'm so animated when I talk, is because I'm used to doing weather for so long. But thank you guys. I just want to say to both of you as well, I watch you so often and you work so hard around the clock to keep people updated with a service that you're only going to find at RSBN, covering every single move that President Trump makes with an unbiased fashion. I just am so grateful to be on a team with you, to share a country with you, and looking forward to CPAC coverage, which is just 10 days away now.
Oh, likewise, Christina. It's going to be a lot of fun in the National Harbor of Maryland, just south of our nation's capital. And a beautiful backdrop of yours there, the American flag, a great reminder of the unity and patriotism that we hope to highlight here at Right Side Broadcasting. So it's a true honor to be your colleague and to have you here on the network.
You as well. I really sincerely thank you guys, and hopefully I'll get to talk to you soon.
We'll see you very soon.
All right, so RSBN's Christina Loren joining us live there. It's 2:17 Eastern Time. She was talking about Gulf of America there, and
right.
Of course we're going to go to that here in just a minute. Showing you this great part of Air Force One yesterday. President Trump aboard the plane there and flying over the Gulf of America on his way to the Super Bowl. What you're seeing there live on the screen right now, that's in France. That is an AI summit in Paris. The Vice President, J.D. Vance, attending that as well. So we'll keep our eye on that and look out for the Vice President. As soon as we are ready to go, Director, we can go to the Air Force One just within the 24/7 news cycle just yesterday. It's pretty cool to hear. I don't know about you guys. I know you like aviation. I love aviation. Trump Force One, Air Force Two, the Blue Angels, all of it. It's just fascinating. But to hear how this all went yesterday, up at 30,000 feet over the Gulf of America was quite awesome. So, Director, please let me know when that's ready to go. Also, Christina brought up a good point, about the president. He's going at a historic speech. He was saying, well, maybe slow it down, and we have these other things going on. Let's just make sure we don't forget about something. She didn't say that, but indirectly, that's how I took it. And I think, at the end of the day, we know the delegation, right? He's delegating to these great people that we are trusting as the American people too,
right,
to take care of business overall. I understand your point, but it's not that it's just President Trump doing all these things. It's he has Pam Bondi now. He has hopefully RFK Jr. soon, Kash Patel, and others as well.
Right, and I think that he does work at that breakneck pace because he realizes the opposition, and he's someone who's really tried to bring so many people together and has been successful in that for the most part. But again, like Al Green and certain others, they're trying to impeach this man. If they, God forbid, they get the majority, it's a slim majority in the House, they will have certain powers. And of course, the Senate, the Republicans have a lot of seats to defend in 2026, and even the recruitment of new candidates. Let me tell you, if we keep up with Michael Whatley's plan, and of course now the former co-chair, Laura Trump, the way she worked around the clock to execute such a brilliant election, it's definitely in good hands. But with midterms comes historically less votes, less involvement. So you must remain engaged. And the first step of that is attending CPAC or, dialing in. If you're interested too about how you can get involved in your neck of the woods, think about, local school board and city council. And you don't have to run it yourself. Just get involved in a fun campaign.
I think President Trump, speaking of the campaign, will be back on the campaign trail. We'll have that here for you here on RSBN, especially for 2026 primaries and all of that. Very important information that Robert just shared. If you can, maybe look at the time there. It says 2:19. Maybe watch that again, what he just said, or hit pause and replay it and then join us back live, because it's such an important point for next year.
Right.
To keep the lead in the House and, of course, the Senate. But anyway, so looking forward to covering it all here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're going to talk about one sponsor before we go to Air Force One from just yesterday afternoon. This is Colonial Metals Group, as you guys may know. All you have to do is go to freegoldguide.com, freegoldguide.com for more information on Colonial Metals Group.
Yes, you can scan that QR code right there next to the Shield Your Savings Now sign, and that's, of course, under Mr. Warren Buffett, who has spoken on this extensively, and someone who's, not necessarily been MAGA, but has been a successful economist and knows numbers. The best way, the best bet, the hedge against inflation for you and your family, gold, silver, precious metals. Scan the QR code now for that free 2025 guide. And it's no obligation, just gives you an opportunity to review what is important so you can protect yourself financially. And that's just everything you need to know right now, regardless of the country you live in or who's in charge, because this inflation is out of control.
Exactly. All right, a great sponsor there. If you'd like to get Spotify or Pandora or Apple Music and play a Top Gun soundtrack song, because we're about to go to Air Force One from less than 24 hours ago over the Gulf of America. Check it out.
Since executive order issuing a name change from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
And we're flying right over it right now. So we thought this would be appropriate. Even bigger than the Super Bowl. This is a big thing. And almost everybody now has assented to that.
Attention on board. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please direct your attention out the right side of the aircraft. Air Force One is currently in international waters for the first time in history, flying over the recently renamed Gulf of America. Please enjoy the flight, and we are now about to head westbound to Super Bowl 59.
Wow, he did that well. That's a good job. He did. Isn't that nice? You know, we're about make America great again, right? That's what we care about. Okay, here we go. So this is a famous pen now, and we'll put it with something. I'll ask you to do whatever you think we should do with it, Mr. Secretary. Do you want to talk about, Doug, Secretary of the Interior, and also working with Chris Wright on extracting vast amounts of oil and gas and making our country rich? Would you like to say something?
Well, with the Gulf of America, this is a historic day. We want to thank President Trump. His executive order is what set this in motion. We signed a secretarial order as Secretary of Interior directing the U.S. Geologic Survey, who is responsible for the database, which is the Geographic Names Informational System. And so just prior to this signing, if you will, the button was pushed. It became official with this proclamation to call today Gulf of America Day. But now it's going out. As we're sitting here right now, our team is calling all the map providers, so Google Maps, Apple Maps, all the map people. That change will take effect this afternoon to Gulf of America. So again, fantastic. Thank you, President Trump, for setting this all in motion with your executive order. It's an exciting, fun day, and great to do this as we're flying over the Gulf of America.
We thought it would be very appropriate. Kathy, thank you very much for being here.
So
It's been a very important part of his life. And who knows what would have happened to him without you. It might not have been good. Here you go. Okay.
Have you talked to Mexico about this?
Actually, interestingly, I've never spoken to him about it. It was our call, and I have not spoken to him about it. I've spoken to him about many other things, but I haven't really talked to him about this. They have never brought it up. I'm a little surprised at that, but they've never brought it up.
Sir, can you tell us about your conversation with Vladimir Putin?
I don't want to do that now. We're trying to end that war. It's a war that would have never happened if I were president. It would have never happened. But we're making progress, but I can't tell you.
You suffered a couple of court losses, Mr. President, and J.D. Vance said judges aren't allowed to control the executive power. What's your take on that?
Well, we're going to see what happens. We have a long way to go, and we're talking about fraud, waste, abuse. And when a president can't look for fraud and waste and abuse, we don't have a country anymore. So we're very disappointed with the judges that would make such a ruling. But we have a long way to go. We have to find all of the fraud that's going on. We have tremendous fraud, tremendous waste, and tremendous abuse, and theft, by the way. And the day you're not allowed to look for theft and fraud, etc., then we don't have much of a country. So no judge should frankly be allowed to make that kind of a decision. It's a disgrace.
Mr. President, a few years ago,
Gulf of America, Canada, Greenland, Gaza, all these are very muscular foreign policy. How does this align with America first?
because it makes us bigger, stronger, and better, and more protective. We need Greenland because of national security, international security, world peace. And we'll have to do that. Canada, we'll see what happens with Canada, but the people of Canada would be paying less than half of the tax. If you look at the tax, they're going to be paying less than half the tax. They don't pay very much for military, and the reason they don't pay much is they assume that we're going to protect them. That's not an assumption they can make, because why are we protecting another country? Now, I love the people of Canada. We have a great relationship. But if they became our 51st state, it would be the greatest thing they could ever do. It would be unbelievable. It would be a cherished state. And think of how beautiful that country would be without that artificial line running right through it. Somebody drew it many years ago with a ruler, just a line. You look at how beautiful that is, wow, it would be very exciting. But if you look at Canada, it would be cherished as a 51st state. They don't pay their share of military in NATO. They pay very little for military. They're not protected at all. And the reason is they think we're going to protect them. The other thing is we subsidize them to the tune of about $200 billion a year. If we stop doing that, if we stop allowing them to make cars through tariffs and other things, cars, trucks, etc., what they make, they're not viable as a country.
So would you agree that it's a more aggressive foreign policy than your first term? And why is that?
It's more aggressive. It's better. Why? Because I think I've had a lot of experience. And in my first term, I was fighting everybody because they were very aggressive toward me. I always said survival and taking care of the country, not necessarily in that order. But I had to take care of the country, but I had a bunch of lunatics like Pelosi and all of these people. They fought me, and we won. And, I had a lot of other things that were going on there. This time it's much more, they've lost their confidence. I think they've lost the respect of the American people with, men participating in women's sports, with open borders, with transgender for everybody, for all the things that they're doing is so bad. When you allow people to empty their jails into your country with prisoners, killers, their mental institutions and insane asylums into our country, this is what they're doing. When you allow gang members from Venezuela, but many other countries coming into our country, we're getting them all out now. They've lost their credibility, but they've also lost their confidence. So I have more time to do what I want to do. So we're making our country larger. We're making our country stronger. And in the case of Canada, if this should happen, I don't know how they can do it without us, because without the U.S., Canada really doesn't have a country. They do almost all of their business with us. And if we say we want our cars to be made in Detroit, with the stroke of a pen, I can do that. And other things in addition to that would not allow Canada to be a viable country.
You said you're going to honor first responders today, but you pardoned hundreds of people who assaulted first responders. Why did you do that?
Who? I'm sorry?
You were going to meet with first responders today.
Yeah.
But you pardoned people who assaulted first responders.
No, I pardoned people that were assaulted themselves. They were assaulted by our government. I pardoned J6 people who were assaulted by our government. That's who assaulted. And they were treated unfairly. There's never been a group of people in this country, outside of maybe one instance that I can think of, but I won't get into it, that were treated more horribly than the people of J6. So, no, I didn't assault. They didn't assault. They were assaulted. And what I did was a great thing for humanity. They were treated very, very unfairly. There's never been an incident like it.
Two foreign policy questions. On Putin again, you realize if you don't clarify that, everyone's going to assume you're talking to President Putin regularly.
Well, they can assume that.
So is it
It makes sense. Well, I don't want to talk about it. And if we are talking, I don't want to tell you about the conversation. It's too early. But I do believe we're making progress. We want to stop the Ukraine-Russia war. And I want to stop it just because I hate to see all these young people being killed. The soldiers are being killed by the hundreds of thousands.
So you're starting to put together a plan for like a peace formula or for some sort of resolution?
We're talking to both sides.
Okay. And then on Japan, are you okay with having a foreign country having a controlling interest in a U.S. steel company?
Well, let's look at this. When I came here, they were going to buy it, and Biden was going to approve it. All of a sudden, Biden didn't because he heard I wasn't going to. I don't want U.S. steel being owned by a foreign country.
Interest is okay?
They can have they don't have a controlling. They have an investment. All they're going to have is an investment.
Will it be a joint?
I don't mind an investment in a company, but especially U.S. Steel. U.S. Steel for 15 years was the greatest company in the world, the greatest #1 company in the world, and I'm not going to let another country buy it. We had a great meeting on that, but they are allowed to invest in it, and that's different.
Mr. President, on tariffs, sir, you talked about reciprocal tariffs coming in this week. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And are you announcing a plan for it this week?
Yeah, I'll be announcing.
Themselves kick in this week.
I'll be announcing probably Tuesday or Wednesday at a news conference reciprocal tariffs, and very simply, it's if they charge us, we charge them. That's all.
When does it go into effect, sir?
Almost immediately, but I'll be announcing the details of it, highly detailed, and it'll be great for everybody, including the other countries. But if they are charging us 130% and we're charging them nothing, it's not going to stay that way.
This is on every country?
Every country will be reciprocal, that's right.
Mr. President, can you confirm that
It won't affect everybody because there's some where we have similar tariffs. But the ones that are taking advantage of the United States, we're going to have it's reciprocity, it's reciprocal. We're going to have a reciprocal tariff. But we'll have a news conference Tuesday or Wednesday.
And just on the steel question, just so I understand.
We'll also be announcing steel tariffs on Monday.
On this, tomorrow?
Monday, yeah, tomorrow.
What countries will those go on?
Everybody, steel.
Including Canada and Mexico?
Yeah, any steel coming into the United States is going to have a 25% tariff.
What about aluminum, sir?
Aluminum too.
10%?
No, 25%.
25 for aluminum?
25 for both.
For both. And on steel, sir, are you ruling out then Nippon Steel having a 51% stake or higher? They won't have a majority stake?
Nobody can have a majority stake for U.S. Steel. They can for other companies, but not for U.S. Steel. I think you agree with that, don't you? U.S. Steel was one of our great companies, and through a lot of stupidity and bad government and also bad management of the company, it lost that luster. But it's going to gain it back, and tariffs are going to help. Tariffs are going to make it very successful again. And I think it is good management now, too. Yeah.
May I ask one, please? Can you tell me, can you confirm that you'll be meeting with MBS and Sisi of Egypt soon? Will that be at the White House?
Well, I'll be meeting with all of them numerous times, by the way, but I'll be meeting with all of them. And yeah, I think that it's a big mistake to allow people, the Palestinians or the people living in Gaza, to go back yet another time. And we don't want Hamas going back. And think of it as a big real estate site. And the United States is going to own it and will slowly, very slowly, we're in no rush, develop it. We're going to bring stability to the Middle East in a totally war-torn part of the Middle East. A part of the Middle East that has caused tremendous problem, the Gaza Strip. And we'll own it. It's totally demolished right now. It's a demolition site. It'll be reclaimed. It'll be leveled out, fixed up. There won't be anybody there. Hamas won't be there. We'll be building through other of the very rich countries in the Middle East. They'll be building some beautiful sites for the people, for the Palestinians to live in. They'll be living in harmony and peace probably for the first time in hundreds of years.
And just to clarify, I know you don't want to tell us about your conversation with President Putin, but can you clarify whether you had that since you've been in office, or whether it happened before you became president?
I've had it. Let's just say I've had it. And I expect to have many more conversations. We have to get that war ended. It's going to end, and we have to get it ended. And we have to get it ended. So should have never happened, would have never happened if I was president.
Mr. President, a couple of years ago, your vice president suggested that if the Supreme Court rules in a way you don't like, just let them enforce it. Do you agree with that?
Say it, the last part.
The vice president suggested that if the Supreme Court rules in a way that you don't like, they can just enforce it by themselves. Do you agree with that?
I don't know even what you're talking about. Neither do you. Who are you with?
Up close, sir.
Who?
Up close.
Oh, no wonder. I thought they died. Are they still around? I haven't read them in years. I thought they'd died. All right, go ahead. Who else?
On security clearances, you've been yanking a lot of them. Why does it make the country safer to take away the AG's security clearance? And is that a form of retribution?
If there's somebody, no. If there are people that we don't respect, if there are people that we thought that were breaking the law or came very close to it in previous years, we do it. And we've done it with some people. We've done it with Biden himself. We think our country is not as safe if you gave him clearance. We don't think he knows what he's doing. And what he's done to this country is a disgrace. And what he's done in terms of allowing criminals, murderers, drug lords into our country, people from mental institutions into our country, he should be ashamed of himself.
On deportations, there's been some reporting that you've been upset that there haven't been more deportations. Can you clarify that?
I think they're doing an incredible job. It's very tough. Deportations, finding murderers is not easy. Some of them are actually very smart. They shouldn't be in our country. There wouldn't have been. We had beautiful, we just set records for closure. We have the strongest border we've had in many years, since my term. But even for many, many years, decades before that. They're doing an amazing job, I think. Tom Homan's doing an amazing job. Christina Loren is doing an amazing job. But it's not easy finding murderers who know they're being looked for. But we're sending out thousands of people. We're getting rid of thousands of criminals from our country.
Do you expect to meet him in person anytime?
Where?
Putin. Do you anticipate meeting with him in
I would
person?
imagine I would be meeting with Putin, yes, at the right time. I think at the right time, at the appropriate time.
Gaza. The White House press secretary told us last week that you're committed to rebuilding Gaza. Steve Witkoff said that process would take 10 to 15 years. Does your commitment to rebuilding Gaza extend beyond your time in office?
I'm committed to buying and owning Gaza. As far as us rebuilding it, we may give it to other states in the Middle East to build sections of it. Other people may do it through our auspices. But we're committed to owning it, taking it, and making sure that Hamas doesn't move back. There's nothing to move back into. The place is a demolition site. It'll be, the remainder will be demolished. Everything's demolished. I mean, you can't live in those buildings right now. They're very unsafe. But we'll make it into a very good site for future development by somebody. We'll let other countries develop parts of it. It'll be beautiful. People can come from all over the world and live there. But we're going to take care of the Palestinians. We're going to make sure they live beautifully and in harmony and in peace, and that they're not murdered. This has been the most dangerous site anywhere in the world to live in. Hamas has been a disaster. And by the way, I have to tell you that I watched the hostages come back today, and they look like Holocaust survivors. They were in horrible condition. They were emaciated. It looked like many years ago, the Holocaust survivors. And I don't know how much longer we can take that when I watch that. I know we have a deal where we're supposed to they dribble in and keep dribbling in, but they are in really bad shape. They have been treated brutally, horribly. Even the ones that came out earlier, they were in a little bit better shape, but mentally they were treated so badly. Who could take that? At some point, we're going to lose our patience. When I see that scene that I saw today with people coming out of helicopters and airplanes that are emaciated, that look like they haven't had a meal in a month, no reason for that. And I don't know how much longer we can take it.
Do you think you want to recast?
I don't know how long we can take it. When I watch people that were healthy people a reasonably short number of years ago, and you look at them today, they look like they've aged 25 years. They literally look like the old pictures of Holocaust survivors. The same thing. I mean, the same thing. And I don't know how long we're going to take that.
Mr. President, have you gotten some advancement in your proposals for some of the Gulf or Arab nations to take some of the Palestinian people? And if not, what do you think the reason
Why are they hesitant to take them? Because they never spoke to me. They spoke to other people. They didn't speak to me. When they speak to me, they're going to take them.
Is it because they think that you would not allow them to return to Gaza? Is that part of it?
They don't want to return to Gaza. If we could give them a home in a safer area, the only reason they're talking about returning to Gaza is they don't have an alternative. When they have an alternative, they don't want to return to Gaza. If they had a home that was safe, where you don't have Hamas threatening them, killing them, torturing them, they'd rather not return to Gaza. But right now, Gaza is the only alternative. As far as the other regions, the only reason they maybe don't act enthusiastic is they haven't talked to me. They talk to other people, but not to me. When they talk to me, they'll be enthusiastic.
And on spending, you found some maybe questionable expenditures, or Elon Musk has
Not
found them?
some questionable. The whole country looks like it's a fraud. It's fraud, waste, abuse, but it's a tremendous fraud. And what Elon and his group of geniuses have found is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And that's just in U.S. AID. Soon we're going into education. You'll find the same thing, but bigger. Soon we're going into the military, and you're going to find a lot of bad things happening there. You'll find it because our government has not functioned properly for many, many years, and we're going to make it function properly. We're even looking at treasuries. There could be a problem. You've been reading about that with treasuries. And that could be an interesting problem because it could be that a lot of those things don't count. In other words, that some of that stuff that we're finding is very fraudulent. Therefore, maybe we have less debt than we thought of. Think of that. So a lot of things are happening, but Elon's doing an excellent job. We started with 12 guys with high IQs, and now we have 100 guys with very high IQs.
Do you think Congress has failed to do their oversight, or do you think your first administration, some of your cabinet agencies?
I think everybody failed. I think everybody failed.
Why does Elon's financial disclosure remain secret?
Because nobody's looking at that. We're looking at all the corruption that's taken place. I mean, his financial disclosure is largely the number of shares that he's got in very public companies, and that's not secret at all. If you read that, you'll see a lot. I mean, he talks about his whole thing. I read one where it really gave a very good history of him, but basically it's a number of shares times a certain stock price.
So why is that not public?
It is public. All you have to do is read it.
So on USAID, sir, what is kind of like the message to countries that depend on humanitarian aid distributed through USAID? What is your message to those countries?
The ones that have been, the few that have been legitimate in terms of getting legitimate money, will probably put it through the State Department. It'll be handled by Marco Rubio, highly respected man, Secretary of State. There's no reason for USAID, when you look at the politicians that have been in there sucking the blood out of it, when you look at all of the fake deals, I mean, look, all you have to do is get a list of all of the things you can see by the heading. It's fake, it's fraudulent, it's probably kickbacks, where they send the money and then it gets kicked back to the person that sent it. So the ones that are good, and there are not many of them, but the ones that are good, and there are some, will probably have that be handled by Marco Rubio in the State Department.
Will they take on some of the USAID workers?
They could, if they like.
Mr. President, will it still be called USAID, Mr. President, or will it not?
I don't know that it's going to exist. Why would you need it? The State Department can take care of it.
Do you think the amount of spending on foreign aid will decrease also, or just the number of employees?
It should decrease. I hope it decreases.
Yeah, by how much?
When we have $36 trillion in debt, and we're taking care of countries that are very rich, and sending aid to countries in some cases that are rich, in some cases they're not rich. But no, it should very much decrease.
Mr. President,
but it won't be the scams that you've seen.
Another cut that NIH put out a memo on Friday night. It's going to cut $4 billion from the percentage that they pay to universities and public colleges in all of those states, not foreign countries. $4 billion. Is that okay to take off the top?
Sure. It could be okay. I mean, you have to look at the universities. Some are legit. You could also say, why are we giving money to Harvard when it's got a $50 billion endowment? $50 billion. And yet they don't use that endowment to help their students.
for research like biomedical research and
Well,
whatnot.
that's fine. Look, we want to take care of research. We want to do a lot of things. But when you look at the USAID and you look at all the things and all the scams that was with, I don't have to go through it now, but I'll get you a little list, and you'll see one after another. There were very few legitimate. It was the opposite. Usually you find something wrong, like 1 out of 100, but this is the opposite. Here, almost everything was wrong. You find very few that were good, but there were some that were good. That'll be handled by the State Department, I assume. That's not final yet, but I think the best would be Marco Rubio at the State Department. 1 or 2 more.
You're going to launch services. Is the Pentagon spending too much on launch services to space?
I think space is going to be a very important element. You know, I'm the one that came up with Space Force. I'm very proud of it. Biden tried to get out of it, and he was really rebuked by the military. I think space is going to be one of the most important things we do. It's going to be all about space, especially defense. So space is very important.
Would you accept Palestinian refugees into the United States since you're looking to other countries?
I'd have to look. I think it's a very far distance for them to travel, but I'd have to look at individual cases. But I do think that coming into the United States, we're taking a lot of people, but coming into the United States, it's a long way for them to travel. They're far away from their families and their friends and everything else. I think they'd be very happy staying in the general area with in a place that was safe, where they could be safe and lead a good life. They don't want to go back to Gaza. As I said, I've said it a lot. They only go back because they have no alternative. They don't want to go back to Gaza. So we'll see. We hope that we'll be helped by Egypt. We hope that we'll be helped by Jordan. We hope that we'll be helped by other countries. We hope that some of the, like Saudi Arabia and others, can spend some money on it. They have tremendous amounts of money. They'll spend some money on making people comfortable and safe.
One question about the Super Bowl. You're going to the game. One of the big things that you've done so far in office is cracking down on DEI. I saw that the NFL commissioner said, I think this week, that they're happy with their diversity program. What's your take on that? Would you like to see any changes there?
I don't know what the diversity program is. To be honest, I know Roger very well. I'd have to look at what he said he's happy with. He was happy also with the flag and a lot of other things that didn't work out too well. We'll have to see what he was happy with. But right now, that's, you know what the law is. The law is the law, and it changed, and it's been backed up by the U.S. Supreme Court. But we'll see. There are a lot of interesting things going on right now. I'll tell you what, there's a light over the United States. People are happy. They're more confident. The approval ratings for this country have gone through the sky. More than at any time we've had approval ratings that there's never been anything like it. We've never seen 49 points up. 49 points up. And I think there's a light actually long beyond this country, all over the world. I've been called by other leaders. They said, sir, there's a light over our country right now. There's a light over the world. We got rid of a horrible and totally inept administration, an administration where the president wouldn't even go and do a Super Bowl interview. For 4 years, I mean, he didn't do a Super Bowl interview. I did. You'll see it in about 1 or 2 hours.
One more on the refs. Do you have an opinion, sir, on whether the referees have been throwing the games to the Chiefs all season?
I don't believe that, no.
Why do you want to be chairman of the Kennedy Center?
Well, I think you're going to have a great game. It's 2 great teams. I don't know. Who knows who's going to win? You have great players, though. You have really superstars playing on both teams. So I think it's going to be a great game.
Why do you want to be chairman of the Kennedy Center board?
Because I want to make sure it runs properly. We don't need woke at the Kennedy Center. We don't need, some of the shows were terrible. They're a disgrace that they were even put on. So I'll be there until such time as it gets to be running right.
Have you seen any shows there? How do you know they're terrible?
I didn't go. No, I got reports that were so bad I didn't want to go. There was nothing I wanted to see. Thank you very much, everybody.
That's about Modi, sir. About Modi, you're meeting Modi.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
He was great.
Thank you. Franco.
He's a great guy. He's very sad over his mother's passing. He's a great guy.
All right, so within the past 24 hours, of course, President Trump on Air Force One taking a considerable time with the press there. Quite an awesome moment over the Gulf of America. And then saying, quote, "We're looking at all the corruption taking place." He said, quote, "The whole country looks like a fraud. What Elon and the DOGE team has found is unbelievable." So next up, they'll be looking at Department of Education and also the military to see if there's more of that kind of thing going on. So saying that the government hasn't functioned properly in many years. So a lot of news coming out of just even that yesterday on a weekend.
Yeah, and mentioning as well that he doesn't know how Elon has the time to do it, but how special is that, to President Trump's point as well? Biden did not do Super Bowl interviews. He was so inaccessible as president, and there he is doing a full, nearly 30-minute press conference from his office on Air Force One. So it's as if the press briefing room is in the air for that moment on a Sunday over the Gulf of America. Just a great historic moment with the Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum, and his lovely wife. And again, I just love how President Trump clearly relationally gets to know members of people's family and what really shapes the person behind the job. And he mentioned too, gosh, Doug, I don't know where you'd be without your wife. And it's just, it's always just, it's jovial and fun surrounded by very serious topics.
And that's why we've seen it with President Trump. And he is one of the best, if not the best, at doing it. Definitely the GOAT when it comes to debates and other things. All right, so you see the White House there live. It is 2:52 p.m. Eastern time. I'm thinking more in Paris time frame. We're going to get to J.D. Vance, the vice president there. We did get video. You might have seen it live for about a minute and a half. We're going to go to that in just a second. Before we do, mypillow.com/RSBN. More than 2,000 products on mypillow.com. A lot of great gifts, of course, especially for Valentine's Day coming up, or just gifts in general. Or, you know what, if it's just the run-of-the-mill stuff, like you need another pair of slippers, you can get it right there with mypillow.com.
It's a mega sale, and we have My Cross saving 30% on that. How about the My Towels, $29.98, or those flannel sheets going for $44.98? But with over 2,000 different products on the site and close to everything 80% off, you want to visit mypillow.com/RSBN, and of course that promo code RSBN. We appreciate Mr. Mike Lindell, all he does to fight for the freedom of speech and election integrity. Give them a call today, 800-836-7566. And he has been a victim of the cancel culture himself, but his store has gotten even more popular as a result. And we know what's happens to those woke institutions. They go broke. Like, remember when Bed Bath & Beyond canceled Mr. Mike Lindell? Well, they are no longer in existence because people turn to a better quality product.
Exactly, and that's what we have, the power of the boycott here if we need it here in this country, and our voice and our vote. So mypillow.com/RSBN, and you brought up cancel culture. I think at this point the entire country collectively has overcome the whole cancel culture thing. I mean, people are just saying, you know what, well, you know that especially if somebody's on the right side of things and then the left side tries to say something about them, it's kind of like we kind of get, why don't you do that before? You know, it's that kind of thing. So we're glad to see MyPillow doing great right now. MyPillow.com/RSBN. All right, so it's 2:54 Eastern. It's about, I think it's now 8:54 in Paris, France. We're going to go back to Paris as we are watching the AI summit that's happening. The Vice President, J.D. Vance, there, just arriving moments ago. As soon as we have that ready, which it is now, we're told, we could show you that video. So let's go to Paris, France.
Thank you all.
Yes, sir.
and refreshing to see that beautiful Suburban come in. We saw a lot of Mercedes, but of course the American and French flags on the official vice presidential car with the seal of the vice president, and our 50th, J.D. Vance, representing us very well overseas on his first international trip to this AI conference being hosted by Prime Minister Emmanuel Macron and the government in France. So wonderful to be with our friends and neighbors on the other side of the pond in order to really tackle what is on the horizon for us and truly has arrived, artificial intelligence. How can we use that for good? How can we use that to advance humankind when there are other entities trying to use that for evil as well? So something that's good to see how we can tackle this from a private and public standpoint, and good to see the vice president there.
Exactly. Great to see him, and great to see President Trump yesterday on Air Force One with that long press conference that he took there. He takes the time to share with the American people what he's up to, and he sees, again, the words fraud and the words corruption. We're seeing it left and right everywhere we go now. Within government institutions, within the media, and President Trump, along with Pam Bondi and hopefully Kash Patel here soon as a director of the FBI, and DOGE and Elon Musk, I mean, really cleaning up the country in every way, shape, and form. Also, our military is getting stronger. We're seeing our constitutional rights protected, really making America great again. And again, we're only, Robert, you said about 21 days in since.
Right on the head.
You know, I mean, 21 days ago. My, oh my, has this been a different level that we have gone to in this country. And we the people love it, and we look forward to seeing more of it. As it's 2:57 p.m. Eastern Time, I believe if we have all of our sponsors read or shared with you already, I think we would be possibly wrapping up the broadcast at this point. But we're very thankful for all of our sponsors as well here at the network. As you know, we also we're hearing that the president at the Oval Office signed some executive orders. The question is, do we get a feed of that? We may. We definitely will upload it if we need to here. Of course, we would if we get it at the network. So a lot going on, especially CPAC coming up, and a number of various events throughout the week. Really looking forward to seeing Kash Patel sworn in. Our RFK Jr. has not been sworn in yet, right?
Has not been sworn in yet, so we're watching that. Staying on top of that, and I'm not seeing anything in the U.S. Senate calendar per se, but you know, that could change on a moment's notice as well, because they go late into the evening sometimes with some of their votes. But it's time for this all to happen, for a yay or nay to take place. We do know that during the Obama years too, the Republican caucus was quite good about making sure that things went smoothly and fast, even though they were the opposition party. That's not the case here. We have about half of the people in place at the moment, but still, even the cloture vote pending. So for Robert F. Kennedy. So it's time to get that done, and it's time to turn up the heat. And you can do that as the American people. Go to Senate.gov, and you will be able to tell them how you feel about it. So might as well call them up, and maybe let's do that as a project today. Let's go and call those folks and see what they're just up to, and always be nice, because on the other end it's usually a staff or someone who is serving at the pleasure of their respective senator in their home state. But Senate.gov, go tell them what you think, and let's get this done.
At 4:15 Eastern, I'm seeing on C-SPAN that Congressional Democrats will protest DOGE actions at the CFPB headquarters. So that's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So Democrats are going to go and say, we don't want Elon doing this, and all. Of course they will, because the amount of corruption that's being uncovered, as you just heard from the president, is at a next level. It's uncharted territory, because our country and our government has been so, in some ways, corrupted over the years. And this is really the first time we're really peeling back all of those layers and seeing so much of it. It's kind of overwhelming in a way, the amount of news happening for America First and for President Trump right now. It's really great to see. But my, oh my, this is something to cover in conservative media, isn't it?
Oh, no question about it. And it is the new era of media, and we're thankful that you're here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live, as we have changed really from complete rally coverage. There's been 2 this year, but you won't have as many necessarily, being that President Trump is now in office. We are truly your live desk that brings you inside and outside of the Beltway, covering everything that is in the purview of President Trump, Vice President Vance, and of course, the 119th Congress. And if you have something happening in your neck of the woods, whether that be state or local politics or something you want to bring to attention, here at the network and that we could shed light on, please feel free to reach out to us. It's feedback@rsbn.tv. That's feedback@rsbn.tv. We read everything that you put out there, even if it's simply the fact that Matthew was apparently right regarding the Super Bowl. If you want to commend him for that, feel free to write in. And of course, reach out to us on social media if you have any suggestions regarding what you would like to see in a storyline, because we want to be your advocates here at Right Side Broadcasting. And just, quite frankly, some other media outlets simply ignore the American people. We were the ones on the ground the last decade talking to you who inspired a cultural revolution, frankly, and for not just this one gentleman, President Donald Trump, to ascend to from being a citizen, a private citizen, to the American presidency, but to change the whole outlook on how people address their grievances with their government. This is a period of time that's reclaiming our Constitution and simply looking at this as citizen servitude, in the sense that you can become a servant leader and then step away again. It's what our founders truly envisioned. And so I think there's a renaissance that's happening within our constitutional republic.
Exactly. So what we're looking at here at the network is this CFPB situation, where it's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, where the Democrats are going to be outside protesting DOGE. Let's look into what the White House is saying about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They say the brainchild of Senator Elizabeth Warren has long functioned as another woke, weaponized arm of the bureaucracy that leverages its power against certain industries and individuals disfavored by so-called elites. For example, the CFPB used its slush fund collected from targeting financial institutions to support radical advocacy groups. This Consumer Financial Protection Bureau also threatened banks for refusing to lend to illegal immigrants. They targeted a Chicago small business after it complained about the city's rampant crime. They were accused of mining American citizens' personal financial information, with a 2017 Inspector General's report raising significant concerns about its data security. So a lot going on there. You can see the left side of the aisle, the leadership just really being anti-common sense and anti the American people. And everybody is seeing it. And one thing I want to say before we close out the broadcast, and if there's any other breaking news that happens, obviously you can count on RSBN Live. We'll be here for you. Also on Truth Social, X, and all of our platforms. But the fact that the mainstream media and the left leadership is trying to hold on to that power so tightly right now, because they say if they know just this much more about how corrupt everything has been, it's really the public opinion of this entire nation, even liberals and common everyday Democrats, are really going to have to decide, do they want to stick to this corruption that we're starting to see? And President Trump talking all about it on Air Force One. So this is a very, very important time as we move forward for the public opinion of this nation. So the messaging from the White House is very basic. It's very common sense. It's hey, you sent that money to a woke organization in some other country. You send millions of dollars over there. That's not America first. We don't want that.
Right. Nor do other countries really do that in the opposite regard. When's the last time, let's just take France, where the AI, this conference is happening. When did they send Ireland $70,000 for a DEI woke musical that was focused on transgender policies? Our government did, and that's the low end of some of the money. We're talking about millions and millions of dollars that's just gone to bloated waste. I mean, even people like the late John McCain said he would criticize pork barrel spending, saying that it gave a bad name to drunken sailors and the amount of money they spent on their whiskey. I mean, think about that. And he wasn't someone who was necessarily MAGA by any means, especially towards the end of his career. So it's just a different time. It's a volatile time. And you play an essential role in all this, because you saved the republic by going and voting MAGA in this last election. Now it's your turn to look at where do we go from here? And it's by each community, it's by each precinct, each county, you can make an incredible difference against the woke left mind virus that has corrupted nearly every institution in this great country.
You know what I love about DOGE? All you have to do is go to doge.gov. It's an official website of the United States government. There's only one thing that it says there. So if you guys have your phone, if you're watching on the TV, if you have your phone handy, just type in doge.gov, so doge.gov. All that's there is a symbol of the U.S. dollar, the symbol there. Department of Government Efficiency. The people voted for major reform. That's the website. I'm clicking. I can't go to anywhere else. So at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's the reformation of America. And Robert, myself, Christina Loren, Megan Kohler, everybody that works at the network, and in conservative media as a whole, we're watching the actual reformation of our country for the greater good, for people, for freedom. What a time to be alive. What a time to cover all this. And we're so glad you're doing that with us. So let's thank some of our sponsors. Again, if there's any breaking news or developing news, we'll be right back here live on RSBN Live. And you can also follow us on Truth Social and X as well. So let's go to Colonial Metals Group. We interviewed Paul Stone just the other day.
Yes, it was a great interview.
Great guy, great company. Tell them more.
Oh, yes. And the big thing to protect you, the hedge against inflation, is gold and silver, precious metals. And Paul really dove into the importance of all this because whoever is in charge, and because of the way we have printed money in this country, especially in the modern era, you just don't know how that can harm you personally and financially for your future, whether it's sending kids to college, your retirement. You just got to be prepared. So this is a great guide to figure all of that out. Scan the QR code right there, shield your savings for the free 2025 gold guide, and no obligation as well. This is just something so you can look over and see your options. You can also convert your 401k IRA into these precious gold, silvers, and tangible metals, but also a great way to diversify in addition to properties and other assets you might have.
So it's just freegoldguide.com, just freegoldguide.com /RSBN for that great info kit. Let's move on to Republican Red Winery. So republicanred.com. I have the red blend here. This is 4547.
Yes.
Not sure if we have a side angle shot on the close-up or not, but if we don't, it's all right. You can see them on the website as well, republicanred.com. Use that promo code RSBN. I believe you have the sparkling wine as well.
I do, and it is a toast to the golden age of America. We've taken the House, the Senate, and put the champion back in the White House. So let's raise a glass to the red wave and the power of the American platform. The best is yet to come, and that's all in caps, a lovely toast on the back of this beautiful bottle.
Maybe at the end of the broadcast today, I'm going to play on Spotify Frank Sinatra, The Best Is Yet to Come. A great song, a great company. Wine for the right side, republicanred.com. Let's move on to Tax Network USA. So it's 800-357-1415 is the number. You see the website there, and it's great to have a company that will work alongside you to get things taken care of with any kind of tax questions you have.
Especially because April 15th is right around the corner and you want to settle those back taxes now. Protect yourself from the IRS. Tax Network USA, they are experts at property taxes, state taxes, the income tax from the federal government, and really any questions you might have. So 800-357-1415 or tnusa.com/RSBN.
All right, let's move on to American Financing, saving upwards of $800 a month.
So smart to do. You could actually save on the next 2 mortgage payments with paying nothing. Again, nothing in the next 2 months. A huge savings with everything going on right now. And just speaking to great patriots really throughout the country, even though we have conservative governments now, it's been 3 weeks and they're still complaining, oh, why not this, why not that? Of course, the media deciding to ask actual questions now. They did not with the last administration. So why not save yourself an average of $800 per month, especially if you own different properties?
Exactly. Great sponsor there, American Finance. Let's shift over to Brightcore. So they have the Kimchi One product that I know, Robert, you started taking these as well. All about a probiotic that helps you out with gut health, immune support, anti-aging properties. And if you buy 2, you get 1 free. Did you do that deal? Which deal did you get?
That is the deal I did. And I called 800-722-0936. and received up to 50% off with all of that. So it makes a lot of sense. If you're handy at the computer right now or you can't call because you're at work, visit mybrightcore.com/RSBN and it'll take you right there. It's made in the USA. It's just common sense because all health starts in the gut, and it's going to affect your course of thinking and how your day goes, whether that's just spending time with family or you're trying to close that next big deal. Kimchi One, essential to your daily activities.
AngelPaste.com, our next great sponsor here, out of Spring, Texas. A great product that you see there. Now, if you use the RSBN promo code, you get 10% off your order. Now, we've got, 4 days until Valentine's Day. So if you go there, if there's a UPS or FedEx or whatever you'd like to ship with, if there's that overnight, you might want to get the overnight button.
You might want to do that, but they have such good lotions. I mean, non-GMO. You have no chemicals, so you know what you're putting on your body is safe, and we absorb through the skin as well. So you got to do that, not just ingesting, but and don't ingest this. It is a miracle cream, but they actually have an option where they can repel mosquitoes as well. Cool. This is out of Spring, Texas, a Christian company that hires veterans, and I've tried the Angel Paste myself, and my hands were nice and beautiful and golden as a result. So AngelPaste.com, a great sponsor out of the Lone Star State.
Makes me think of when President Trump says about the water in California. He says it's beautiful water coming out of there.
And this is beautiful lotion. So, and it's also for men. I mean, you don't have to worry about that with the black label. So ladies, if you're thinking, what am I going to get my guy for Valentine's Day? Miracle Cream, maybe get that's for you. If they're smart, they'll also get you some Miracle Cream. So.
There you go. A good trade right there. Right. I like that. Let's move on to mypillow.com. The mega sale, as you're about to see on the right side of your screen right now. I don't know if we have the Valentine's Day one. That might help encourage some people to purchase as well. But when it comes to the infographic, but again, more than 2,000 products there. The slippers, the slides, pillows, the sheets. So many great products at mypillow.com.
It's really fantastic. Over 2,000 products available for up to 80% off. And we know Mr. Mike Lindell, a master marketer and a great defender of the freedom of speech, our Bill of Rights, and the Constitution. Also, someone who has stood up for election integrity and to the bullies out there, including people like Jimmy Kimmel, who was downright rude to him. But Mike Lindell has such a generous and gracious way about him and talks about how the Holy Spirit pours through him. And if you ever get a chance to meet him, you'll see exactly that. Just a bright smile and someone who dearly loves this country, loves God, and has one of the best companies out there just trying to make your day better, especially your morning. You think about the sheets and the My Morning Coffee. Oh my goodness, the slippers. You have a pair of the slippers are just outstanding. So check out mypillow.com/RSBN.
Also meeting Mike, my wife and I met Mike at AmFest 2022 for the first time. It was actually the weekend that we got engaged, my wife and I, of course, but anyway, too many details there. But it was great to see Mike because he would take photos with everybody. Mm-hmm. He'd walk around like he wasn't even famous. He just didn't care about that. Right. And that's what's cool about people, that when they are known or famous, they don't walk with that extra arrogance around them. They just are like, hey, yeah, okay, I'm known. Who cares? What can we do for the country?
Exactly.
And all that. So it was really cool to see that with Mike Lindell, as it's about 3:13 p.m. Now, RSBN, if you'd like to text RSBN to 801-801, very cool to do this, because at the end of the day, we love our sponsors. We also love you guys, because obviously we won't be able to have all of the live coverage we have with access to the White House, these live feeds, even to the Pentagon and other places for press briefings. News that happens outside the Beltway, as we grow as a news organization here that is based in common sense. Grassroots company, guys. So anything you can do to help, that's great. Text RSBN to 801-801. RSBN to 801-801. We also have a newsletter.
We do, and that's at rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. You get all the updates, some great writers here at the network as well, and it is always fun to get those instant updates right on your phone. So they'll tap on in there if you want to read the long form version of our stories. But they're all America First updates, and then you'll never lose a moment of what President Trump is up to on a daily basis, along with our 50th Vice President, J.D. Vance, and the Congress. This has been a quick 3 weeks, and just so excited to see how much more will happen over the course of 4 glorious years.
Exactly. So later today, if there's any breaking news, or if we have a feed of any of the executive orders or any kind of signings at the Oval Office, we'll bring that to you. Also, we'll be back tomorrow, of course, as well at RSBN Live. So we look forward to seeing you then. Before we go, I do have to say, Robert, wearing the Eagles tie because the Eagles obviously won the Super Bowl. He was saying the Chiefs would win, but somehow the Eagles pulled it off. But not only pulled it off, they crushed the Chiefs.
It's rare that I'm wrong, but in this case I was. So fly,
I love how you
fly.
said that. You're like, it's rare that I'm wrong.
Right, yes. But that was a glorious performance. They just shut down what is one of the most explosive offenses in all of the NFL between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and President Trump even mentioning some of the best combos on an offense you'll ever see. But the Eagles shut them down big time, and really kudos to both teams on an extraordinary season. Can't wait for the fall. Of course, spring football right around the corner with the United Football League, so if you're a fan of that, you won't miss out only for a few weeks here before they get started in March.
For all those here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, for Robert McNeely, I'm Matthew Alvarez, and also Christina Loren, who joined us earlier. Have a great day. We'll see you a little bit later.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live Show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.